Going live, doing live things. Hi, everybody. Bryan CP Steele here, the professional nerd, coming live to you, to anyone who watches my silly little show. How's everybody doing? It has been one heck of a week, and that is what we are discussing today. So I mentioned last week that we were going to do a live today, and part of that is honestly because I just wasn't going to have enough time to record an actual show because I was very, very, very busy this week for lots of different reasons, which we will talk about. But before anything, I need to pull up real quick. I just realized I need to pull up the raffle, the comment raffle winner of February, because February is all done now, and I put it into the machine, into the randominator. We have who did we get? Nope, that's not the right link. Brian's failing a link action. What is my... I just looked up the January one. That doesn't help anyone. That would be our friend Michael J. Pastor from episode 224. So, Michael J. Pastor, you won. I will post as soon as I'm done recording here. I'm not going to sit here and click clack while you guys are listening. I will post on your thread that you won the February comment raffle, and so you can email me your information. So congratulations, Michael J. Pastor, whose name I remember from our Strange Hollow live, which I'll actually talk about momentarily. Yeah, so let's see. Matt says morning-ish time, Brian. It is morning-ish time. It's lunchtime around here in these parts, which means it's getting close to dinner time in your parts. Yeah, no, it's been a good week. It's been a good week. It's stressful. Lots of stuff going on. Let's see. So what happened when last we met? We'll go through the quick weekend, Brian. Painting, nothing. I got absolutely nothing done because I was too busy doing other things. Although that's going to change very soon. I have a new print that I'm hoping to get printed, cured, and painted before Adepticon to show people stuff. And that's in 2 weeks. 2.5 weeks. 2 weeks. No, 2 weeks. So that's a plus. Hopefully I'll have something cool to show you guys. What else? Painting, personal. Still, I haven't been to the gym this week, but I did a lot of moving and sweating and lifting and whatnot while I was at Gamma. I was going to go to the gym this morning, but I woke up and my sciatic was giving me a lot of grief. Plus it was raining. Plus the dogs were being fussy. It just didn't quite add up to be the best day to go back. So I might try and I might try and go tomorrow. But definitely back on Monday. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much for personal life stuff that isn't part of the week that we're going to be talking about here live anyway. Gaming wise, I played our Rifts game last week before I left for Gamma. Had a bunch of fun with that. I always enjoy the combat sessions are always great because you get to blow stuff up and cause all kinds of, trauma and damage and, do the superhuman cool stuff that happens. But it was nice to have a role play session because a lot of people do see Rifts as just a number crunch combat kind of grindy game. And there is a lot of really, really rich history and fluff and lore, and a good storyteller, a good game master can really bring that out. So it was nice to be able to flex those muscles a little bit instead of the roll and dice muscles. Yeah, and then that was pretty much it, because it immediately went into Gamma, which of course we did some gaming and stuff took there, but that's not really part of the weekend, Brian. That was actually part of the week that we're talking about. Work wise, I am so close to finishing the current Shadowrun novel that I can taste it. I'm getting to the part of the story where all of the big stuff starts to happen and the big events, and that scene that I've had in my head being like, I can't wait to get there, is right there. So it's that will be done very, very shortly. I'm super excited about that because I can get that sent off to the editors. I got to put in the art order for the cover. So yeah, no, it's I'm there's always a part when you get in when you're writing specifically a longer piece of fiction, whether it's a novella or a full-blown novel, or gosh, a series of novels. There's always a part where you're like, think of like a roller coaster. Is, there's all this build up, and then you get to that top crest, and then even not just it moves faster, but the words flow faster. The thoughts come out of your head. The stitching these scenes together, just suddenly it all makes sense. You have that kind of aha moment, and I'm there. I'm at that part of the book, and I'm super jazzed. I'm psyched for people to get to read this. I'm psyched for the implications it has to the meta of the Shadowrun universe. I love getting the opportunity to do those sorts of things. I love the just for fun stories, like the stories that are just for entertainment value and expanding on characters that we might use elsewhere. I love that too. But I will say that the meta novels, the ones where I get to actually like leave fingerprints on the universe, more lasting fingerprints anyway. They're harder to write, but they're a little more fulfilling to know that, similarly while I was growing up reading BattleTech novels or Dragonlance novels, those characters, those iconic moments, that's stuff that will be reflected in people's games, it might end up in modules and stuff, that are being written, or that come out later on. And so that's always something that I really, really enjoy those. I love getting to see that kind of stuff kind of take shape. And again, while it is a little harder to write those because you've got more parameters you've got to stay within, and boxes that you've got to tick to make sure that it does what it's supposed to do for the publisher, it's really cool to be able to get that stuff out and onto paper and see it come together in gel. So that's really rad. And then pretty much everything else work-wise is part of this week. I literally, right before I got into this live, I had an amazing meeting with my Resnova partner, Alex, about some Warzone Eternal stuff. Very, very excited about some of the things. We're right around the corner. Adepticon is right around the corner, and my little special announcement / lounge event thing on that Saturday night. I'm excited. I'm excited to be able to say some things, set up a meeting to talk to someone about part of that announcement. Just good stuff. Yeah. So now let's do what I actually said I was going to do, barring anybody who's in the chat asking any questions that come up or wanting the specific topics to be focused on. Let's talk about how the week went. Rather than doing piece by piece, I'm going to talk about the easiest one to talk about. And that was, I mentioned last week that my wife and I had her in-person disability hearing for her myasthenia gravis, the fact that she hasn't been able to work for several years. And I can't say that it went well, and I can't say that it went poorly. I think it just went. I went into that hearing with the idea that we would know something afterwards. I had a complete misconception of how the process was going to go. I thought that we were going to walk out of there either super sad or super happy because we would have gotten a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and that's not really the case. It's more along the lines of, we had to say our piece. We had to get the judge, to know all these things. And then once they have that information, they're going to be able to deliberate on it. And then in a couple of weeks, we'll have more information and a yay, nay, or a modified yay. And then we go into the next part of the process of actually figuring out what that means. So we're still probably at least a couple of months off from the actual end of all this. But that being said, it was really good to not just be ticking boxes in a website or uploading documents and hoping someone sees them, or waiting to hear from the doctor who is supposed to fill out a thing. Like, there's so much hurry up and wait in this process. And a lot of it is automated, that it can be very frustrating not to be able to put a face to these people you're talking to over the phone, or be able to talk to somebody who's got, who has stake in this, physical human stake. So getting a chance to human stake, tasty, to get a chance to actually talk to the lawyer directly, to be able to see the judge and get a feeling of how things go. It was a long, stressful day, but it was a long, stressful day that was absolutely necessary. And I do feel, while I'm generally a positive person and I'm terrified that this won't go well, I do feel pretty good about how things kind of came together yesterday. So that was one of the big things. Let's see. Another big thing is so the Surviving Strange Hollow 5e fantasy world, or fantasy setting. It's not really a full world. It's a chunk of a setting based on the art of Emily Hare. Went live and funded on Tuesday. Actually funded in 1 hour and 37 minutes, so under 2 hours. And it's doing good. It's not blowing the doors off the barn like I was hoping it would. But I also know that right now the RPG scene is really being dominated by the Tower of Guys and Gax by Luke and Alphinius Goo. It's seeing them just smashing numbers is intimidating as hell. But they're also friends of mine, so I'm like, that's pretty cool. I'm glad that they're doing well, and I hope that maybe when their campaign wraps up, that we'll be able to steal a little bit more of that spotlight. Because I do really believe in this project, and I think that it needs to have more eyes. It needs to have a little more attention. Although apparently this morning, the actual Kickstarter people put it on the Projects We Love page. So maybe today will be the day that we start seeing a pretty big spike. But there's a bunch of really, really cool stuff in that project that is not yet unlocked. And I'm hoping we get there quickly, because I would love to start seeing the fans' reaction to some of these things that I know are on the horizon, both figuratively and literally. Yeah, so that went live. The only other thing that happened this week was Gamma, which, to say the only thing that happened was Gamma. So Gamma is the Game Makers Association, their trade show. for the people who don't know, it is a show where the industry people, whether it's the business owners and the creatives, they get booths to and then invite retailers and distributors to come out and take a look at the product, talk about the product, hear what's coming down the pipe, basically get things prepared on the business side of things for the following year. And I went with Evil Genius, which was it was really nice to get together with the rest of the Evil Genius crew. We've recently taken some shots to the chin through social media in places. I'm here. I made it. I've arrived. So we've taken a few, taken some shots here and there. But at the end of the day, the people who need to learn from this are learning from it. And this show helped us really refocus our efforts toward what we should be doing anyway. And that's making damn good games. So we focused on telling retailers, the products we're thinking, we're trying to put together for this year and some of the ones we're lining up for next year. And we also got to go ahead and show off some of the works in progress for military heroes specifically, a little bit of taste of Everyday Arcana. And then I had brought a sample adventure, a little mini splat adventure for Intergalactic Heroes, our foray into sci-fi role-playing. And overall, I think it went well. We learned a little bit, not necessarily about the system, and not just about the systems and what we were putting out, but also that Gamma is a very specific style of event, and sometimes it is hard to try and kind of off the cuff create events and get people to come out and play when they might have 10 seminars they have to attend, or here is the open gaming window, but there are certain tables you're allowed to be at. It was a little harder to orchestrate, but the stuff that we did manage to get put together, the people who played seemed to have a great time. The rules we were making seemed to be working as intended, maybe with a couple of notes here and there. And above everything else, it was just the retailers were very accepting of the products. They were excited to talk to us about our organized play system. It was all around just a good week. It was a really good show for us to talk to these retailers, to find out what do you need from us more to sell your product in your stores. What's a little easier. Does this product move faster than this one? It was good conversation. And that's the kind of thing that these shows are really, really good for. Similarly to when we go to like Origins and Gen Con and the gamer-based shows, it's nice to have the interaction with the player base. In this case, that's just all about, are you having a good time? Is the game fun? Tell me about your character, like that kind of stuff. Whereas at this kind of show, it's a little bit more about what's going to keep the doors open, what's going to keep the business moving, and what's going to help these retailers push and sell that product for them. So it's a different style of show, but it was a lot of fun. They always are. I left a day early because I had to do the whole court thing with Natalie. But while I was there, it was really nice. It's always nice to see people. It's always nice to see my industry friends. It is troubling that some people cannot. God, how can I put this without sounding jerky? I don't want to, because I love these people. There are some people who read a lot of things at face value and don't understand the whole of what's going on. But that happens in every field and every arena, so to speak. So I had some conversations that I had with some people to explain how things are going, the fact that we're still making cool games, that like that kind of stuff happens. But it was just nice to see these people. I got to meet some new people in the industry, people that I had not met before. Friends of friends. You end up grabbing drinks and meeting a new person. A couple of people who I've only known tangentially, or like we've been at the same party. I got to actually converse with. Again, that's what these shows are really good for, is without the hecticness of the having to juggle gamer events and I got to be at this place, or I got to watch what I'm going to say because gamers will run with that knowledge. It was nice to be able to just sort of talk about the industry, talk about product, talk about where things are going from that perspective. Had a really actually because of the hoodie I wear all the time. I had a couple conversations about Warzone Eternal while I was there. Even though I'm there for Evil Genius, I still had some Warzone Eternal conversations. One particular person, we talked and had a grand old time talking about some stuff that's in playtest, talking about how their store will carry the product. It was like I know I sound like a broken record, but and for you youngsters, a record is a thing that had sound on it that played. I'm being a jerk. It was nice to talk to people about the various projects and products and get to see people. But I think of all the things that came out of Gamma, above over everything else, over all of the other things that happened. I could say high fives and drinks with my friends are always a plus, but I can do that anywhere. I can do that anytime we get together at any show. But I can definitely say that at the beginning of Gamma, the Evil Genius core staff, all those of us that we could that could travel, we all came together and we had basically a full day of meeting and discussion and basically like a company exercise, where we can talk about the future, we can talk about where we're going, we can talk about things that we're not going to do anymore, things that are going to help shape the product going forward. New processes cooked into our company at a like high level, at a management level. Just it was no matter how many camera-based Zoom meetings or memos to the company, or no matter how much of that stuff goes out or takes place, none of that will equate to just spending a couple of hours talking, having body language, maybe sharing a pizza or some cheese curd over the meeting. Just those sorts of things do so much more for building good relationships and to make sure that when someone has misstepped or someone has maybe a confusing moment or maybe just a question, that it's sometimes just easier in person to handle that, to have that conversation, to rather than trying to work in a vacuum, rather than trying to do everything reactionary, just to go, all right, this is how this can be handled. To see real time on someone's face, not through a camera where they might be reacting to something off screen, but knowing that they're talking to you, knowing that you are the person in their conversation, and seeing that understanding, that mode of the personal learning that's happening as far as the topic being talked about, it's worth its weight in gold. It's massive, because I can't speak for everyone, but I know I generally tend to be pretty empathic when it comes to not like meow 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 meow, but like just reading people's emotions and reading someone's behaviors. And it makes such a huge difference to know when you're talking to someone or when someone's watching someone listening, to another part of a conversation and seeing them come together. It's awesome. It's great. And I really, really look forward to the future products and processes and more events and things. And there was some learning. So anybody who is familiar with the EGO program, the Evil Genius Organized Play program, we launched a website-based app. I keep saying that because I've had people ask, where's it at on Google Play, or where's it at on iTunes or whatever, or the Apple Store. So it is a website-based application called, it's at, is it orgplay.app? I think orgplay.app. That is our dispatch app. That's basically where we put our events for you to be able to sign up to be able to play. It's where you can find events. It's actually a really cool little doohickey in progress. And we tried real hard to use that to schedule the gaming events, the special like beta test gaming events at Gamma. This was probably a mistake. Not mistake as in, oh no, the world is ending. Mistake as in we didn't get nearly the attendance or the attention that we thought that we would by using that process, because what we were trying to do is we were trying to use the app to sell the event, when it should have been the other way around. Is we do the event, we advertise the event, and then the people who show up to the event, we go, okay, hey, everybody get your phones out, go onto the app and register for this event. That's what we should have done. Learning, it's there's a lot of plates spinning, a lot of chainsaws up in the air right now, and that was a nice learning experience about how this is coming together. And it worked. Like, the app was neat. Like, it's cool to be able to put an event in there and people be able to see it if they know that it's there. But yeah, so that was pretty cool. And it was very, very informative to hear from the retailers, as generally speaking, if they already carry the Everyday Heroes and the Cinematic Adventure lines, as soon as they get someone to play it, they buy it. And that's awesome. It's a sign of a good rule set. It's a sign of a good product. That it's not a hard sell. You just have to get them to play it, because it is, as a book, a little intimidating. It's a pretty thick monster of a book. We make pretty sizable books when it comes to like kind of rules expansion-y type stuff. So sometimes it's a little intimidating to have someone go, hey, here's 500 pages worth of stuff. I hope you love it. Whereas it's not hard if you can get them to sit down, play the game, and then go, all right, grab the book and hit it. So that was nice to see. Hearing which cinematic adventures do better was nice to hear as well. Kind of from certain stores are like, The Crow was super huge, it's doing great. And then another store was like, we've got a big monster following, so Kong is big with us, and so it's cool. It's nice to see. It was just nice to have that information. I think I don't have much else to say about Gamma. We announced Military Hero. I mean, they're already announced, but we showed off some Military Hero stuff. We explained some things that's going to happen in Intergalactic Heroes. We played some events of Everyday Arcana. It's just it was a nice reminder to the retailers out there to then take that back to their people and hopefully get people ready for the following year worth of cool stuff that we're going to put out. I was a little disappointed that I didn't. Apart from kind of internal stuff, I didn't get a chance to really show much Intergalactic Heroes stuff off because of the whole scheduling app snafu. But all the people who did get a chance to see it seemed very interested. And and the couple of internal conversations that I had about some of the design elements that we're going to be adding to the game, people were excited about. So I'm cool. I'm pretty jazzed about that. When I have things a little more outlined, a little more set in stone-ish, maybe pumice. I plan on maybe doing an episode on, like, 10 cool things that you didn't know about Intergalactic Heroes. Get people started excited about that kind of thing. So that should be that it'll be a little bit down the road. I mean, I've got a lot going on in the next month or so, but definitely before Origins, I should be able to do an episode specifically talking about how that project's coming along and what to expect. And if all goes well, because I also know last week, they announced that I'm going to be a special guest again at GameholeCon this year. Probably my favorite show. And I'm planning on probably running some Strange Hollow stuff as special events, and as long as nothing goes wacky or weird, I'm gonna try and run at least one preview to Intergalactic Heroes special event as well. Probably run the same event twice. But I mean, I can only say I'm excited about this stuff so many times before you guys think that I'm crazy. But there's no doubt that rules wise and as far as the rules that we had designed for the Rebel Moon role-playing game, a lot of that is being scraped and salvaged and altered to create Intergalactic Heroes. And while obviously the story has to change, the names and places have to be changed, obviously. And some of the core elements that we had baked into the original RPG need to change, because it's really based on, that game was designed to be the impetus of that license. So we still have some work ahead of us to make it work better as a more, I hate to use the term generic, but a more open sci-fi concept with just a little bit like a basting brush worth of setting built in, for us to then build more setting stuff on it, from there on out. But it's a project in motion, and some of the things that we added or that we are adding, I think, are going to make this game very special. So I'm excited to be able to show that stuff off, and that's going to be the kind of thing that hopefully I will highlight and put a spotlight on when it comes to those special events or the episode that I do dedicated to it. But that's pretty much it. I mean, it was good. It was a good show. A little chaos, a little hectic. But overall, the retailers seemed really happy with us, seemed very confident that the product is selling, and it's all about moving forward and kind of strengthening our foundation as a company, so we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. All right, so we're only like halfway in, and I'm kind of done jawing. I don't have a whole lot left to talk other than talk about future stuff. So yeah, let's open the floor. If anybody's got any questions, I would love to answer them, whether it's about Gamma or disability hearings or novels, or I'm open to just about anything. I don't want to end this live just because my week was. I was expecting so here's a little story. I was expecting to come in here and have all kinds of, oh my gosh, here's this, here's that, here's what happened, blah, blah, blah. I was expecting to have so much more to expand upon. But honestly, because things went well, because there wasn't the drama, because it wasn't, you know, anything super noteworthy that I have to be like, oh, you have to know about this. Um, I'm glad. I'm super happy for that. That it went. You know, did it go completely as planned? No, of course not. Nothing ever does. Did we have some instances where I wanted to scream at the ceiling because it was the 10th trip back to the loading dock to go get cardboard standees to give to retailers? Yes, it was somewhat infuriating that we didn't have a place to store them nearby, that I had to like run halfway across the hall to go get these things. um do I wish that all of our events, planned or unplanned, on the books or off the books, that we're all like, just max filled and, standing room only? Of course, but that just didn't happen. So none of that stuff needs to be chatted about, sadly. uh I'm gonna give a shout out. I don't know if he'll be listening. But we have there's a person in our company, Paul Tim. He's one of our product managers, who does not travel very much. Has not been to an event in, I think he said, 8 years, maybe. I know that he hasn't flown anywhere in like 8 years. I don't know if he's been to another event since then. But Paul is an amazing person. If you recognize the name, he used to work for WotC back in the day, in the early 2000s. He was massively integral to Legends of the Five Rings. He did art direction for Magic the Gathering. I mean, like he's really, really just a very, very talented gentleman. And one of the linchpins our in our organization. Like there's not a lot that goes on in Evil Genius that Paul does not help facilitate. And it was so good to get real, honest to goodness FaceTime, chatting time, talking time, conversation, discussing projects, discussing past projects, talking about our days with Vampire the Masquerade back in the day. Like just it was just an unbelievably good social interaction with Paul. And of like the top three things that came out of Gamma for me, feeling like I have a better grasp of what Paul is capable of, that I have a better friendship with Paul, like just not even just a business related one, like just on a personal level. I would put that up against any amount of retailer interaction at that show. Is the fact that, and I'm sure it's not even just me and Paul, it's collectively as a team. I don't think we've ever operated as well as we did at this show, even with the stuff that was the balls that were dropped in the chaos and all that stuff, because a lot of that had nothing to do with us. It had to do with, external things. And it was good. It was a really good interaction as a team, to know that we have good things ahead of us, and that we've got each other's backs. So that was awesome. Paul and mine's late night conversation about Legend of the Five Rings and Crab Clan for life. Just talking about stuff that he had to go through, and putting two and two together about projects that we both worked on roughly at the same time, the same project. But I remember that part of that era in the industry. It's so much fun. It's part of the reason why I love Gamehole Con as much as I do, is that every night you get together in the lounge area there's some booze involved, but not all. It doesn't have to be. It's just good interactions with other people in the industry, whether they're on your team or they're not, and you sit back and you talk about, remember that thing that we did 15 years ago. I mean, like, it was just, it's that kind of stuff that reminds me how much I love conventions, how much I love this industry, how much I love the fact that, even if it's misplaced, the care and worry that some people in the industry have for me and others like me, it's staggering. It's very humbling, and I hope that everybody knows out there that if you have asked about me, or if someone else has asked about you, that it's that kind of real, honest to goodness care between people in this industry that I think really matter. I think that's a big, in writing, there's a lot of things about show don't tell. You don't just write out, this is what happened with the thing. You show actions, you show behavior, you show stuff that's taking place, and it means the world to me when someone shows that they care more than they say that they care. It does, and you do that by interacting with someone personally. You do that by showing them that this other thing doesn't have nearly let's have this conversation. Let's go grab a bite to eat. Those sorts of things, rather than a quick text message. Like that. That's what this was all about. And I gotta say, Gamma was good for that. It was really, really good. I absolutely, I no matter what, I'm always saying that, I knew I was going to do this in 2003 at the Origins Awards. I knew this was going to be my life, and this, things like this and the interactions that I had at Gamma remind me of that I do want to do this the rest of my life, for a variety of people, companies, reasons, projects, hopefully for profit, hopefully for the betterment of my financial situation. But also just because the relationships and the people who are out there, and you are, I love you very dearly, and I'm also the kind of person who has no problem telling that to someone. So it is a very humbling moment to know that there are people that care more than the things that you can do for them, and that's important. All right, so I now just spent like last 10 minutes pontificating about love and care and smush. Does anybody have any questions or anything that I can possibly answer? Some topics that maybe you want me to chit chat about? Because if you do, I got time to chit chat. I got another like 16 minutes left in this scheduled for this live. So hit me if possible. I don't know if if my internet connection is God, how awful would it be as if I'm just like on like this 20-30 second delay, or it's recording but nobody's seeing this because I'm all just like on their YouTube. I hope not. I hope that it's everything's going well. Try not to open my soda stream in front of you. All right. Yeah, nothing. Ain't nobody talking. I'm so sad. All right, well then I will. You know what? I will tell a wee little story. Oh wait, here we go. Gerald Paul says, "Here we go. I have in one of my campaigns a handful of factions that will be different levels of antagonistic towards each other. Okay. I'm assuming that there is more to this. That's not a question. That's just to say, well, what's the best way, in your opinion, to track all that? Okay. So I have two things in mind. One is a graphic way to show it. That if you watched the episode where I interviewed Chris Loizu from Cursed Empire, I talk about there was a faction map for the Cults of the Darkhoon that I to this day I think is one of the coolest things ever, and that's more of a handout for other people. For you personally, like if it's just keep track of it as a game master or as like a narrator, I think an Excel doc does just fine. As you write down every faction, you almost make like a table, like where all the sides and where they meet. Obviously, where the same faction meets, it's just a black spot because there's no, obviously one faction is okay with itself. But then basically you create that table that shows, okay, so the Stevens and the Michaels, oh, they're at war. Like you can kind of, and then if you cook up a nice color, like rather than having to retype it every time, you could do like red means at war, yellow means, orange means, border skirmishes, yellow means, they're, propaganda against each other. Blue means that they are neutral, they don't care, and then green means they're allies or something along those lines. And then you just kind of you just got to put those colors in the map, so that or in that table, because then immediately at a glance you can just go, oh, okay, you're making a character who's in the Christopher Guild. Okay, well, the Christopher Guild, I'm going to look at this. Okay, Christopher Guild's this column, and we're about ready to go into Kevin territory. So I look at the Kevins. Christopher's like, oh, okay, no, they're neutral. It's fine. So there's not going to be anything completely out of place. So I think as a game master tool, that works just fine, because it also allows you to, if you want, create secret colors on there, like puce or fuchsia, I don't know, or periwinkle, that might be open. You could have it as your own personal notes. Openly, they're at war, but they're being manipulated. Or they are allied with secret Cold War. You can create your own stuff that the players don't need to know. Now we go back to that graphic map that I was talking about. That it's a great handout for a quick faction overview. The way that the Darkhoon map was set up, and it was, again, chef's kiss, and this was 20 years ago. I think it obviously graphically could be put together better now, and probably will when the 3rd edition book comes out. Basically, it was a bunch of bubbles on a thing, and the bubbles had lines connecting them, and the lines were either like fat black line, dotted line, or it was like, I think on that book it was like a red line. And the size of the bubble showed how big that faction, how powerful that faction is. So like the Scorpion clan, or the Cult of the Scorpion from the Darkhoon, was one of their bigger, more powerful cults. It would have a much bigger bubble. Whereas like, the one that's, the Kraken, the Cult of the Kraken, which is like only based out of the Edekin Islands, is this little itty bitty fella down on the bottom and or off to the side or whatever. And then the lines that connect that cult to the other cults, it was just, if it was a solid line, it was an alliance. If it was a dotted line, it was an uneasy peace. And if it was a red line, these actively hate each other. And if there was no line connecting them, it means that they don't interact very often, either because of or they don't interact enough to necessarily warrant a version of an alliance. It's like, yeah, their individual members might cross over now and again, but when it comes to like faction politics, they didn't have any. And that was easily looking at that. When I was flipping through the Darkoon source book back in the day, you saw that map, and it was okay. As soon as you knew what the size of the bubbles meant and what the lines meant, you knew exactly what was being presented there between these different cults. And I remember back then that I thought that, although that was treated as fact, because it was in this source book, you could easily make a version of that might remove some of the cults if someone might not know about them. Like, let's maybe like that little Edekin cult of the Kraken. They maybe they're not really known by anybody. So if it's a player handout, you remove it. If it's a game master handout, or game master, information, that obviously you need to know that. But like when it comes to, or even then, maybe just the players aren't from that area, so they don't know about that cult. You pull it off. I think that was probably one of the best player handouts that I've ever seen when it comes to of that kind of style. But for me personally, if I was keeping track of interfaction politics and things, a table, a meet at the middle column and row table is how I would do it. Does anybody else have questions? Now that I know that it actually is something that happens on here. Okay, cool. Thanks. I hope that was helpful. I know that it's, sometimes a lot to orchestrate that kind of stuff. But hopefully hopefully you'll be able to help that will be able to come together as well as him. I've seen it recommended at other places too. I think it's called a relationship matrix. That is a great term. If it is not called that, it should be. I absolutely agree. Yeah. So I know these lives sometimes are just filled with questions, and sometimes it's just me pontificating. Today seems like it's a pontification episode. It's in my notebook for my campaign because I have it in. If I have it in an online doc, I'll forget about it. Yeah, I could absolutely. There's a lot of stuff that especially as a lot of games are starting to move closer to more digital access. I find myself creating more printed notes and notebook journal entries and stuff, because when I am running something or playing something on Roll20 or Foundry or something like that, that I don't want 15 windows open, because I don't want to have to sift through and lose the access to the camera, or accidentally overtax my bandwidth in the computer and it goes bleh, and I lose my stuff. I might have to pick your brain a bit about one of those factions, but not here, because at least one of my players in that campaign might be in the chat. Okay, fair enough. I know how that goes, where you want to say something and then it starts coming out of your mouth and you're like, wait a minute, I probably shouldn't mention that. Blue Stripe Leader, hey, what's up? Yay, it's alive, Bryan. Almost not live anymore. I mean, I'm not dead, but I've only got about 10 more minutes. I want to say all of the things all the time. Yes. So that is one of my biggest drawbacks, is there are so many cool things that are happening in so many different projects, and things that are getting ready, things that are being made, things that are being worked on, some hidden behind NDAs, some just you shouldn't talk about it until it's more of a reality, because what if something gets, changed, altered, or the plug pulled? The last thing you want to do is tell your fans, tell the players, hey, this is coming, and then that's actually where I'm at right now with the all the questions that keep coming up about the Enigma of Combination book for Transformers. While I wrote the original outline for that, and I know that I did the lion's share of the rules part of that, I don't know how much changed or how much stuff may have gotten added or altered after I turned in my manuscripts, because that was all in someone else's hands. So sometimes when someone asks something on Discord and is like, hey, I hope this is there, I want to like stick my head out and go, I hope it's there too, because I put it in there. Or, it wasn't when I turned in my stuff, because I honestly don't know. And it's a little nerve-wracking, because that book was going to be my baby. It was going to be my magnum opus of the Transformers line, which actually I think Decepticon Directive turned into that, because that one was cover to cover me, and I had so much fun with that book. But I'm hoping Enigma, the Combiners book is left mostly unchanged, and that everybody really digs what they get out of it. I mean, I say that all the time, but that book in particular is because I started working on the stuff that was going into that book at the same time as the Power Rangers core rule book, to give you just a concept of how much went into the Combiners book from Jump Street. From the very beginning, I knew what I wanted to put in there. Yeah. Blue Stripe says, how am I doing? I'm doing okay. It's been a long week. It's been a stressful week. It's been a good week. When this video goes open for you to go back and watch, you'll get a lot more information about all the stuff that happened, but I am doing okay. A little stressed. My sciatica's freaking out a little bit, but overall. Blue Stripe says, I'm excited for it. I can now say I have a Cybertronian Power Ranger, so combinerizing will be awesome. I think that's pretty cool. I won't lie. I'll be as honest as I can be. The field guide, while it was an amazing idea, when Elisa came to the table and was like, we need to do this book, everybody involved was like, hell yeah. I do think that it is also one of the more problematic books for the Essence 20 line. I think more problems have stemmed from the information in that book, because while it was always supposed to be a guide to help game masters mix and match things, it has turned into players who are looking for the next big power build. It's turned into a guidebook to help them loophole their way to gaming success. And a lot of that stuff, again, Essence 20 was originally designed to be game master caveats, like, please step in and make the game your own. It was designed to be more cinematic, more narrative in nature. And a handful of players are really using a lot of those open-ended rules things to create the next big awesome thing, or create rules issues where the only answer is, if your game master is okay with it, then it's okay. If your game master doesn't like it, then it's not. And that's hard. And that book facilitates a lot of that. Doesn't make it a bad book. It just means that it's a book that every time I see someone say, oh my God, it's a must have for any Essence 20 player, I see that and I go, it is really cool. But people need to remember that this system was not designed as a number crunch. It wasn't supposed to ever be, super math, the game. And a lot of people are using all of these piles and piles of cool possibilities into, this is the way that you play the game. I love when I see someone say, well, obviously the game was designed for this. And it's like, no, it wasn't. It was designed for you to make a cool story. And if that helps you make a cool story, rock and roll. But it wasn't designed for you to find this plus this plus this equals nobody else at the table is having a good time, or this plus this plus this equals, haha, I stumped the rules. Ugh. just have fun. Just have fun. Blue Stripe says it's a great idea, but trying to use it was a headache and a half. I got there eventually. It's a process. Gerald says, "Oh lordy, yes, the BS and shenanigans caused by that book are amazing and terrifying." That is a great way to sum that up. Is that there's a lot of really, really, really cool stuff in that book. Just like there's a bunch of really, really, really cool stuff in the G.I. Joe book. There's a bunch of really, really cool stuff anywhere where like new things are being explained. Factions was never a thing that we were, outside of G.I. Joe. Factions was going to be like a G.I. Joe thing. And then it became an Essence 20 thing, which I don't necessarily think is bad or good. It just needs to be really thought about for it to be focused, or for it to be fair and balanced. If that's what your table needs, if someone comes to the table and says, all right, I want everybody to pick 2 generic perks to start with, then that's on you. That's your game. Just realize that, the threats that you're going up against don't have those generic threats, or don't have those generic perks. The stories that you might be playing, the stories that you might be playing in, your character suddenly, I love it when, it's Schadenfreude, but I love it when someone says, I'm the game master in my game and my players are running all over me. Help. And then you go, okay, well, what's the problem? And he goes, well, at the very beginning, I gave them their Zords at level 1. All right. Oh, at the very beginning, I changed how Zords work so the players have more, have better skills in them. Okay. My players went through the first 3 chapters of The Time Is Now super easy. They didn't have any problem. Oh yeah, but we also gave them double the requisitions, and all of their stuff is upgraded to the gills. Well, yeah, because that's not how the balance was designed to work. So you've bucked the system, and that's why. So I see that and I go, okay, yes, your cool homebrew thing probably is going to be very, very cool at your table. Just remember that this could be an issue. Sorry for the off-topic question. Apollonius01. That's not a name I've heard on here before. Hello, Apollonius. Welcome to the Nerd Farm. Sorry for the off-topic question, but will you make a stream day about how Warzone goes and any news updates that you can share? Sorry and thanks. Yes. So I've done some Warzone stuff. So Adepticon is right around the corner. And I've got some big cool announcement stuff happening at Adepticon on Saturday night. So expect the episode that is the Gary Con Adepticon wrap up to have a very heavy. There's going to be a lot to talk about when it comes to Warzone after that. I'm going to see if I can't go live from the announcement, but sometimes bandwidth and things at shows are a little sketchy. Then again, I also might ask some of the people from the Warzone Discord. I may ask some of them to maybe record while I'm chit-chatting. And then I'll just have to deal with the fact that I look like a potato on camera if you can see me below my shoulders. But yes, I do plan on doing more stuff with Warzone as I have more information. Right now, everything is very formative. We are still, a lot of the pieces are fitting into place, but I do know there's some really cool announcements coming very shortly. And I will probably do a Warzone, let's chat about Warzone stuff soon, but it'll be after Adepticon. Michael J. Pastor. Hi, Bryan. Didn't know you do live chats. I don't do them very often. I do them when I don't have time to record. So I do my episodes every Friday. But when I have a chance, when I do have a chance to do a live and like an AMA or something like that, I try to get in here and do them once in a blue moon. In fact, if you weren't around, Michael J. Pastor, I announced that you were the comment raffle winner for February. So I will still click on the post to show which comment won, but you'll have to email me your address so I can send you some cool stuff. Apollonius, yeah, I'm waiting for the email for when you guys will ship our goodies. So shipping's going to be a while still. We still have to get everything fabricated and stuff. We're starting to, the dice have been ordered, the bases have been ordered. Things are in progress, but we're a small company, and there's a lot of stuff happening. But bear with us. Every week, Alex and I get together and we talk about how things have progressed, where things are in layout, where things are with a couple of the STLs needed some tweaking before they could go to the fabricator. So things are in progress, but I will never sugarcoat it. I will never lie to you, our backers and fans. We're still a ways off to actually shipping product. That stuff, it's going to take a while. And there's also, we had 900 some odd backers that we've got to get together in I think we said 7 or 8 different countries that we've got to put together. So Blue Stripe says, I feel better that you're saying this. I gave their Zords a touch more power initially till they felt more powerful and balanced enemy health, so the battles lasted a bit longer. Which again, totally at your table, YTYC, your table, your call. It makes perfect sense if you want to go that route. You just have to remember that the other side of the coin, that things as written aren't going to reflect that. Then at level 5 game, I gave them Zord power up options, but didn't give them the option of +1 damage. So I just kind of shifted a bit of the damage dealing feeling as I knew they were into that. See, and that's what it means, man. That's you figure out how the game works best for you, and that's what Essence 20 was always designed to do. The mechanics are there. We wanted the mechanics to function, obviously, and we wanted the game to play well. But part of that overarching concept, there's a reason why almost every single role-playing game for the last 15 years has had a thing in the beginning of the book that says these rules are here to help facilitate the game. But the golden rule is always you can change it as you need to do that for your table. Essence 20, that was, Elisa and Kevin and all of us, Ben and Ryan, we all baked that in the very, very beginning, is that the system, we didn't want it to be so nuts and bolts, so crunch, 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 that there was no wiggle room for some of the just crazy stuff that happens in some of these cartoons or some of these shows. There was no way to completely codify everything. And that's where the rule books and the guidebooks and the source books they help to expand on that, but it still comes down to, at your table, you're the game master, you're the one that's running the show. And if you want to do a tweak, if you want to do an alteration, if you feel that things aren't quite right for your players, it's all about trying to get to that final result of everybody having a good time. That's why we do this. Not so you can win role-playing, or not so that one player can have the best character of all time, or the worst. It's just so you guys can have a good time. That's the end result. All right. I'm glad that we got some interaction at the end, but it is time for me to go. I have other work to do today. So I'm looking forward. Next week's episode is going to be thank you, Michael J. Pastor. Oh, we're at 300%. I was actually going to say, so we did a stream for the Strange Hollow, a handful of us designers and things for Strange Hollow. We did a VIP access Twitch video earlier this week, and next week I'm going to go ahead and the episode. Obviously, there will be some of my shining face chit chatting, but the meat of the episode, I'm going to go ahead and give another platform to that video. So if someone missed that video or couldn't get on Twitch, or wants to see some of the cool things that Ed Green would have to say, that Aaron had to say, that Sean had to say, that I had to say, and the Jasons and Mikey. If you missed that, or if you are more interested in Strange Hollow and you're like, I kind of want to know a little bit more, Next week's episode is going to be predominantly that stream with a little bit of my goofy ass on either end of it. So be ready for that. And then the following week will be hopefully live from Adepticon, and then the week after that, which I know at this point it was like a month out, we'll be talking about what happened at GaryCon and Adepticon. So, I guess that's a very wholesome, almost childlike approach to play, in that there isn't a wrong way to play so long as you're having fun. Stripe, you're 100% right. It is, it's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. I wish more players across all of the gaming platforms had that thought process, and also took into consideration that their way of having fun is not wrong, but it might not be someone else's way of having fun, and that to impose that just whole cloth does kind of make things a little wonky. So that's my thing. All right, so I need to get going. So it was good to chat with everybody. I hope that this was a fun hour and change, and that you will stick around, subscribe, share, like, you know how all of that stuff that needs to happen. I want to grow the channel. I talked to some people at Gamma about possibly sponsoring us, but I got to get a little bigger before that happens. So tell your friends, tell your friends' friends, tell your friends' pets, send out homing pigeons, get them to come and watch the show and subscribe, and maybe they can win cool stuff, or they can learn cool stuff, or whatnot. In the interim, please be safe. Go get vaccinated if you need to. Wear a mask in places. Wash your hands. Don't lick doorknobs. Just, be a good person and try and leave every room a little happier than when you got there. And until I talk to you again, play some games. We'll see you next week.